Welcome to a live session of Seibert Media. I have a guest today, and it is Jens Schumacher from Atlassian. Hi, Jens.
Hi, Martin.
Jens, we're going to be talking about Git and Stash today, pros and cons. Let's see how many cons Atlassian can come up with. But maybe we'll find cons about Git. However, thanks for taking the time. Maybe we can start that you simply say a bit about yourself. Actually, let me say before you do that to the people watching this, if you know German, there's a German video about this also. You can see this too. Maybe you'll get some extra info. And there's a URL, let me see, somewhere down here. And you can type that in, and then you'll get extra info like the questions that I've posed, the answers that Jens has given, and also the videos and all this stuff. So this for the admin part. Jens, who are you?
I'm Jens. I work for Atlassian. I've been at Atlassian for 8 years now. I started working here as a developer and moved into product management after 4 years. And today I'm responsible for the developer tools at Atlassian, Fisheye, Crucible, Bamboo, Stash.
Okay, cool. We're going to be talking about Stash today. This is Git Repository Management, correct? And a couple of other things. What is Git?
So Git is a distributed version control system, which similar to Subversion, allows you to version control your source code. Okay.
From the German interview, I would say, actually, if you're seeing that and you don't know, I'm not a programmer, so Jens is going to be talking about the knowledgeable stuff, and I'm only going to be asking silly questions. So what I got from the interview in German is that Git is somehow the cure that makes me as a developer become even faster and more productive with my source code. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I guess as developers, we're always looking for ways to improve our workflow and work more efficient, and Git certainly can help there.
How? What are the features?
So I guess to start with, you have to understand the difference between Git and Subversion, and the main difference is the distributed. That's the important part, which means that every developer has the entire source code, the entire repository on the local machine, which makes most operations much faster, whether it's like looking at the history or checking out or looking or committing code. You do that all locally.
Okay, and that makes me faster because I don't have to transfer this much information. Does it lead to more commits? Is that or can I search faster, or all of that, or something additional?
Yeah, you can search faster, but it also leads to more commits, because one of the most common answers we get when we explain people it's faster, and then they say, well, I just commit once a day, who cares that it's faster? Well, the thing is that it allows you to change your workflow. You actually commit much more often. You get more check-in points where you can roll back to, and it just is a little bit more powerful as well.
Okay, but I'm in a big company, like a really big company, thousands of employees and a lot of developers. We have to rely on, actually I'm not, but I'm pretending. So we have to rely on established things. Like Subversion is so long around, and this Git stuff and this diversion control system stuff, isn't that only for small teams and startups, those people who want to make big bucks? But we are here to stay, right? And is Git here to stay? Is that something reasonable?
Yeah, Git is definitely here to stay. Git has been around for many years now as well, and it's been used to develop the Linux kernel, which is a pretty big project. Right, and I guess that Git was built because the developers working on a Linux kernel, Linux policy, they were just frustrated with the way they had to work with centralized version control systems, and that's how they came up with this. So even if you're a larger organization, Git is definitely here to stay, and more and more developers are looking at Git and adopting Git. So if you want to hire developers in the future, it might be a good idea to to consider Git as well.
Yeah, you said in the German version, you already said that actually you see that developers are asking which tools do you use, and if you can't name like state-of-the-art tools, that's going to be a con for you as a employer, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think like those are all the, like, people look at the technical reasons why to use Git, but you also have to think about the social reasons. The job market is so competitive with, especially around developers. It's really hard to find really good developers. And if you're a really good developer, do you really want to work in a company that uses CVS? I'm not sure.
Probably not. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So so I buy that distributed version and control stuff. Why not Mercurial?
So Mercurial is definitely an option as well. It's distributed, it has a lot of the benefits, and it's really a matter of, like, some people like Mercurial better, some people like Git better. We actually published a couple of blog posts, and one highlighting the advantages of Git and highlighting the advantages of Mercurial. And there are certain, even at Atlassian, people have different opinions about the two. However, a few reasons that actually speak for Git is one of the main reasons is really the popularity. So Git got a lot more popular over the last couple of years, and if you look at any statistics, it's definitely far ahead of Mercurial by now, which also means that the support for the tooling support across different platforms has gotten a lot better over the last couple of years as well.
Okay, something that I would be able to name as a big advantage for Git is this is like this guy, Linus Torvalds, who has created this awesome Linux operating system that runs like, I don't know, we could talk so long about Linux and its success, but he did this other project called Git. Like, for me as a manager, this is quite a big pro for Git. It's just like supported by the one guy who created this one operating system. I know he didn't do it alone, and he doesn't do Git alone. It's open source, but it's a strong pro, as you said. Like the very most popular thing around. And okay, so I bought DVZS, I bought Git, or I didn't buy it. I just installed it. Why Stash? Why Atlassian Stash?
Yeah, so we mentioned that Git is distributed, which means that every developer has their own repository. Now, if you want to collaborate efficiently and kind of have a bit of control over your project as well, ideally you do work with a centralized repository, and that's what Stash offers you. Stash makes it really easy for you to host repositories, administer permissions to the repositories, and allows you to browse and search your files and the source code online. So it makes it really, really easy to access your repositories.
So a bit of central subversion into Git?
Exactly, like a little bit, because you want to make sure that your builds run from a centralized server where you know that only the right people have access to it, only the right people control it, right? So if you build a new release of your software, you want to make sure that that comes from this one central repository.
Okay, so
a lot of people call it the blessed repository, because everything that goes in there, you know where it comes from, and you know that potentially it has been code reviewed.
Okay, so just let me try to summarize that. If I run a Git in my company, I can do it for free, and I can add Stash. And what will the benefit for me is that with Git, everybody has his own repository, and everybody who does new code will be able to check in this code in my central repository or branch where that I'll one day use to update my software, maybe on the web or wherever. And the problem is that if I have company has junior developers, right? And they may not be that experienced, and I want to check before they check in, or before they their code gets like released to everyone in the world. And Stash will add a layer that will help me to organize that. It's not meant to kind of put a thumb on people and not let to cut down their freedom, but it's kind of an organization where a central instance can review what I, as a junior developer, have developed, so that the senior product manager, whoever, can say, yeah, that's exactly what we wanted.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the, like, Git is really awesome, but it doesn't provide any of the features that enterprises require, whether it's permissioning or integration with the LDAP for user authentication, right? And those are the things that Git puts on top of it. And in addition to that, it also puts collaboration. What's that? Sorry.
Stash puts that on top of Git.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Stash puts it on top of Git, and then in addition to this, Stash also offers this social layer on top of it, where you can have discussions around the code, review new check-ins before they get merged back into the master repository.
In the German interview, we were talking about story development, story branches that you have at Atlassian. Can you lay out how you do that? How you check that in, and how these pull requests and all this double blind review things and this works?
Yeah. So before I talk about story-driven development, it's important to know that branching and mercurial are pretty core. Branching and merging, not mercurial. Branching and merging are pretty core to Git and mercurial as well, to distributed version control systems. So that means those operations are really efficient and really fast, and really easy to do as well, unlike in Subversion. So that means that it allows you to customize the workflow, and that's important for the story-driven development. So at Atlassian, for every feature that the Slash team starts, every Jira ticket, we create, first of all, we have a Jira ticket, and we create a branch for that Jira ticket. And all the development happens on a branch. It doesn't happen on a master branch. It happens on this story branch. And once the feature has been completed, it usually takes like a day or two. It's not like a really long branch. It goes on for months. We want to merge those changes back into the main repository. And this is where we use pull requests. And a pull request allows you to review those changes on a branch, allow you to comment on changes, make suggestions, or approve those changes. And if you make suggestions, the maintainer of the branch, that he can commit additional commits into the branch, and then you can review them as well as part of the pull requests. So it's a really lightweight and really efficient way to review the changes that will go into your master repository. Okay,
cool. Let me look in my question list that I don't expect. So these pull requests, how I understand them is that it's not meant to kind of control me, but it's meant to give more organization to you, so that you know that those people knowledgeable will be able to review what I do, correct?
Yeah, I think you can use it for both. At the moment, Stash is pretty open, but in the future we will add more restrictions so that you can put more control over it with branch permissions and other plugin points that allow you to, for example, you might want to require that you need 2 approvals from other developers before you can merge those changes back. And that's a plugin point that will be available in Stash in the not too distant future.
If you only had like a very short time and you wanted to highlight why should I go with Stash, what would be your short summary for me?
Yeah, so if you want to host Git repositories and easily connect it to the rest of your environment, to your database, whether it's MySQL or Postgres or Oracle, and maintain permissions on top of the Git repository, then Stash is the simplest solution for you. You can get it up and running in 5 minutes.
Okay. When you talk to customers who buy Stash, and this is, as this video is called, pros and cons. So a con is I have to buy Stash. It's not for free, correct?
Well, there's a free evaluation, so you can evaluate it for free for 30 days. You can also buy the $10 license, which is not free, but it gives you a 10-user license for Stash for 1 year for only $10. And those $10 are well spent, because they actually don't go to Atlassian, they go to kids in third world countries because we donate the money we make from the starter license to Room to Read, a charity that we support for years now.
Yeah, it's unquestionable that this is a good cause, but as far as I can tell from my work as a partner is money spent at Atlassian results in even better software in the future, so might not be spent on you bad either. Okay, but more questions. So we were talking about Mercurial. Is there any plan to add Mercurial support in Stash?
So we're considering it for the future. We definitely architected Stash in a way that allows us to add Mercurial support later on. But for the time being, we want to focus on Git only and make sure that the features that we are planning for the next 6 months get into the product. And supporting 2 version control systems just makes it a lot harder to innovate and iterate fast.
Mm-hmm. There are open source products out there like Road Code that will help me to do the same thing, or is it something else, or should I go for Road Code if I have no money, or what's the difference to Stash?
Yeah, so if you can't afford the $10, then you might want to look at an open source tool. I think the difference is if you actually use it for your business, you want to make sure that you put your source code in a tool that is actually supported by a company that knows what you're doing. I think the Road Code is actually one main person who maintains it, and he's doing a fantastic job considering it's just one person writing that project. So kudos to him. Like, he's definitely a really, really good developer. But the problem is we spend a lot of time. We have 16 developers working on Stash, and we spend a lot of time on edge cases, on scaling, on making sure that all the errors are handled properly. So those are the little things that, as an open source project, you don't really want to spend time writing all those tests and making sure that those are handled. So I think it's a bit about the quality as well.
Okay, so 16 people working on Stash. That's a heavy investment. They could be doing Confluence and Jira stuff, which are your main products today. Why?
Well, I think at Atlassian we're still, like, our core mission is to help software development teams build better software, right? Or help teams to collaborate better. And we believe that Stash is an integral part of this. And we do believe that Git is the future. So we want to make sure that we can offer the best tools to our customers.
So what would be the, I'm now staying with the Mercurial stuff. So I'm using Mercurial at the moment. I want to have Stash. When is the right time to buy? Should I buy now? Because within I get a license and I can upgrade like for 12 months, and then within the next month you will come up with that, or when is the right time? Or should I just move to Git?
So unless you're using Git as well, I would wait to buy Stash until we officially announce Mercurial support. I wouldn't buy it on a promise. So at the moment we're going to reevaluate Mercurial support in the middle of next year, but at this stage I can't make a promise. So yeah. I recommend if you're just using Mercurial, don't buy Stash right now. Yeah,
okay. And if you're using Git, the opposite is the case. Okay, so let me look at my questions again. Is Atlassian using Stash like throughout the whole company, or are there people not using Stash, and why?
No, the whole company is using move to Git or Mercurial. There's still a bunch of teams on Mercurial as well, actually. But at the moment, the Stash team uses Stash, obviously. We like using our own tools for development. And the Confluence team, as well as a few plugins, moved to Stash already. And the Jira team is going to move soon. All the other teams are currently on Bitbucket still.
Okay. What is Bitbucket, just as a quick reminder for people?
So Bitbucket is similar to Stash, but allows you to host your source repositories online, and it supports Git and Mercurial. It's
from a manager's perspective, I would say it's Atlassian's answer to GitHub. So let's talk a bit about GitHub. They have GitHub Enterprise, where I can host my source code behind the firewall. Why not use that one in favor of Stash?
GitHub Enterprise is certainly a pretty good tool as well, and a lot of people like it. But I think the main reason why people choose Stash is the GitHub is only offered as a virtual machine for behind the firewall, which means that the administrator doesn't have sudo access to it. They don't know what's running in that virtual machine really, and they can't customize it. So there could be potential security problems with that. You can't connect it to the rest of your systems, whether it's a database. You can't back it up the way that you back up your other systems. So those are more like maintenance and administration problems with the virtual machine.
Okay. And also, this virtual machine thing comes down to, I would say, trust. Like, especially, I have the impression that especially in Germany, where I come from, it's important that people trust whatever they do or whoever they do business with. And if I have a virtual machine, it's just like a black box, correct? I'm putting all my things in this black box, and I fully have to trust GitHub Enterprise. And I don't want to say that you can't trust them, but if I get this Stash offering from Atlassian, I can install it myself, and I get the source code. You do get the source code, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, you get the source code.
So even if Atlassian goes bankrupt, I could take the source code and develop it myself, or I don't know, something else could develop or evolve from that. So
yeah, that's correct. So I think like another reason that I didn't mention in the German version is the perpetual licenses. So with Stash, you buy a license for 1 year, and you can use the tool even afterwards if you don't require upgrades or support. With GitHub Enterprise, you need to subscribe, and if you don't extend your license, then you're out of luck and the tool stops working.
Yeah, out of luck. Out of luck is cool. You're out of business. Yeah.
Potentially out of business. Another problem with like the virtual machine and that approach is that it's not easy to extend the tool. So GitHub doesn't allow any plugins, and especially in the Atlassian ecosystem, we have, I think, across all the different products, more than 1,000 plugins now. Stash is still pretty young, but we have more than 12 plugins for Stash already, and it has a lot of extension points. So Stash was built from the ground up with a REST API and with a lot of extension points that a lot of the functionality that is in Stash itself uses already. So there's going to be a growing ecosystem for Stash as well. It makes it really easy for you to add additional functionality or customize the existing functionality that you see in Stash.
And I can use that for legacy software also. I don't have to publish that on the marketplace, correct? I can just use that
Correct.
for my legacy software.
That's right.
I'm pretty excited about these plugins also because two of our developers have recently won the Codegeist category on Stash. So that makes me pretty proud also. And it actually shows that plugin development from outside companies is possible. And thanks again for choosing us as a winner there. Okay, so wouldn't it be interesting to combine like your products like Fisheye, Crucible, and Stash into one product? Isn't that like looking at source code, hosting source code, rights management, pull requests? Isn't that like one big thing instead of three things? Don't you just want to make me give you more money for 3 products that I buy?
So we don't. Well, of course we like when people pay us, but we don't want. One of our values is don't screw the customer. Right? So
it's the F word that you don't try to pronounce here. Okay.
That's right. So and we definitely try to not do that, and I still think we don't. The reason is initially we thought, well, Fisheye has already, as you mentioned, source code browsing, search, so why don't we just put repository management in there as well? And we did that with 2.7. Unfortunately, afterwards we discovered that the architecture of Fisheye, which was originally built to search and explore version control systems, no matter which version control system you use, whether you use Perforce or CVS or Subversion, you could use them on all of them. And for that, we needed one common layer, an abstraction layer, a big index. Unfortunately, that just didn't work very well with Stash. So we couldn't afford to create a new repository and then tell users that it will take maybe half an hour to index, and then you can start using it. It just didn't work that way. In addition, a lot of the functionality that we wanted to build on top of Stash was really, really hard to build into Fisheye, and we would only have been able to offer it for certain version control systems. For example, pull requests, we never would have offered for Subversion or CVS or Perforce. So it would have just become like a Frankenstein product that does everything but nothing really well.
Okay, so let me try to sum up that real quick. You wanted to implement that in Fisheye. So the initial argument is okay that this could be one product, but the problem is that you needed this additional layer on top, and you wanted to make sure that everyone would really understand what the product does. So technically, it's better to have a separated product because it's faster, it's easier for people to use. And also, having a product like Fisheye doing something with Git, something else with CVS, Subversion, and Mercurial would be very complex for people to understand. This is what you refer to as Frankenstein product, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're already in that situation where we can provide certain features for Subversion in this case, but not for Git. And that's like the lines of the number of lines of code, and it's the number one voted for feature. So we didn't want to make this even worse by offering other features that didn't work across all the different version control systems. So just having like a jack of all trades, we rather have a specialized tool that does it really well. And in this case, it's Git Repository Management and collaboration on top of it. And then use Fisheye for what it was built originally to look at different version control systems, whether it's Subversion or Git. And especially if you make the move from Subversion to Git, you can use Fisheye to search across all your source code and index all your source code to view it, no matter which repository system you choose.
Okay. So if you're just like in the German video, I was saying we're going to show a bit of Stash in the English video. And if you agree, I would put that in another video so that people could just look at only how does Stash look. And I would end this video here. But to end that, could you name the number one reason why you would say go with Git and Stash? Or if you go with Git, go with Stash. What's the number one reason that people tell you when they buy?
So like I think that's a little bit different, my answer this time from the German version. So
no problem.
So actually there's some reason that people tell me why they buy it. And there's a reason why I think you should buy Stash. So the reason why people tell me usually why they buy it is because they're already part of the Atlassian ecosystem. They already have Jira installed. So Stash seems like a logic and extension, and they know Atlassian for the quality tools. So they know what's coming and it's going to be good. So that's really, I think the brand has a big impact there. Why I think Stash is going to be really awesome is the plugin system. So that's, I think, the main argument for Stash over its competition. And we've seen what the plugin system has done for Jira and for Confluence. And Stash it can be even bigger in terms of what functionality you can put on top of a repository management tool. So I'm pretty excited to see, and also the workflow you can customize. So I'm really excited to see what's coming out of the plugin ecosystem over the next 6 months.
So am I. And I heard Scott Farquhar, or I read Scott Farquhar's email when he told me, look, this is our newest and slickest or leanest and highest quality product that we have at Atlassian. Is that true?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. As you can imagine, a team at Atlassian doesn't get the opportunity often to work on a completely new product, and that's, I think Stash is the first time in 7 or 8 years that we worked on a product from scratch, and that shows all the things that we learned over the years we applied here, and we made some new mistakes instead, right?
Yeah.
but it also enabled us to go with a really tight release cycle. So we release almost every 7 weeks or 8 weeks. We want to keep it really small and do it even more often. And we take a lot of care to ensure that quality is always part of the release. Scaling, quality, like you've never seen that level of quality in any of the other Atlassian products, because we want to make sure that we do it right from the beginning instead of just applying it up afterwards as well. So
cool. Jens, thank you very much for your time. And if you're interested, as I said, there's a German version if you speak German, and we'll do some visual parts where Jens shows us around and stash a bit. Thank you so much for your time. It was a great pleasure for me.
You're welcome. Thanks.